Good afternoon and welcome to Energy Efficiency Week's live webinar. Glad you could take the time out of your busy schedule to join us and hopefully get some really useful energy saving tips for you and your family. So it is Energy Efficiency Week. It runs until Friday, until the 29th, and we've been inviting you to be a smart, energy efficient cookie, and hopefully you've found some time to do that. And again, thanks for taking this time to spend with us. And our goal today is to give you some more tips and to maybe answer some of your questions if you've got them. Put them in the chat window, and we'll try to answer as many as we can coming in. So once again, thanks for being here. We'll try to make this very informative for you. So I'm with takeCHARGE, and takeCHARGE is really a cooperative effort by the two utilities in the province, Newfoundland Power and Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, and it's all about getting you the information that you need to be a smart, energy efficient cookie all year long. We've got lots of great rebates. We'll talk about that as well, but we're here to help. Most people, when they want to save electricity, it's about saving money. And we get that. I'm the same way myself, for sure. There are other benefits to saving electricity too and making your home more energy efficient. And one of the big ones is comfort. All right, when your home is energy efficient, it's fully insulated, you're keeping the cold drafts out, your house is going to be warmer and much more comfortable as we head into the pending winter season. There can also be convenience benefits as well. When you put in an LED light bulb, it's going to last about 15 times longer than the old incandescent bulb. So you have the convenience of not having to change that bulb as often, and the cost that goes along with that. Those LEDs, they do cost a little bit more. We've got some great rebates to help you. We'll talk about that too. So lots of good reasons to save electricity, but certainly the number one reason is to save money on your bill. And we get that. It makes sense. So let's start by looking at a couple of typical Newfoundland homes. The one on the left is electrically heated, and it shows you the breakdown of where the energy goes in your home. All right? So the section on the bottom, 55%, that's for space heating. That's the biggest piece of your energy pie in just about every home, okay, is space heating. Now there is some variability. If you live in an older, less efficient home, that number might be bigger. It might be 65% or more of your total annual energy usage, all right? If it's a more energy efficient home and maybe you've got a heat pump, it's probably less than 55%. But the average throughout the province, 55% of your energy is going towards keeping your home, your electrically heated home, nice and warm for you. 25% goes towards appliances and electronics, so you know, the fridge, the stove, TV, all of those things add together to about 25% of your total annual energy use. And then 15% is water heating. It's in around there. Like I said, lots of variability. I have 4 boys. 2 of them have moved away, but we had lots of showers happening at our house and lots of hot water being used. So I am sure for many, many years, my average was above 15%. Maybe yours is, or it could be a little bit less. That's the average in the province. And then the final little piece of the pie is 5% that goes towards lighting. The house on the right shows a different story. It's a non-electrically heated home. So the percentages and the numbers are a little bit different on that home, but it's because the space heating, the oil or wood use, whatever you're using to heat your home, it's been taken out. So it just shows you slightly different numbers. For that home, still a big piece of your total energy, including either oil or wood, for example, is going to be for space heating use. So the numbers are a little bit different, but the idea is the same, and so you get a sense of where the energy is going. And you know, it's always useful to focus on the big piece of the pie when it comes to saving energy. So just so that you've got that that backdrop, we do want to give you some quick and easy and no cost options and ideas for saving energy in your home. Now, I was surprised a few years ago when I saw some information about using the curtains to save energy and how much energy you could actually save. And what we're talking about here, of course, we always want to open the curtains and let the light in, the sunshine in the day. That makes sense. But the bigger piece in Newfoundland, where our heating season can be 8 months and maybe more, is to close those curtains or window coverings, could be blinds, to keep the heat in. Effectively, what you're doing is adding another layer of insulation on those windows. And believe it or not, the normal 2-pane piece of glass window is only about an R2 or so. So it's not a very well insulated piece of your house, but we all need windows. We got to have them. So some things to be mindful of when it comes to closing those blinds or a nice heavy set of curtains, hopefully, is the fact that, if you're able to provide a good air seal around the window and not much air can pass between, say, the curtains and the glass or the blinds and the glass, you're doing a much better job of creating that air barrier. But if air can freely pass over the top of the blinds and come out the bottom, it's really not going to work as well. And it could lead to some condensation problems on your windows. So something to be mindful of. If you open the window or the curtains in the morning or the blinds and there's a lot of fog on the glass and it's actually beading and water's running down the glass, then that's not a good situation. You can't really use your window coverings to do the job for you there. But if it has that decent seal, then you can get some super good energy savings. We estimate 10% by closing up those window coverings, but it could even be more. Okay, so something to keep an eye on. This time of year, as we head into the fall, and the nights are getting quite cold, getting down to close to 0 degrees in the evening, it can be a little trickier about condensation on windows because you've got warm in the day and then pretty cold in the night. So, this is a particularly bad time of year for window condensation overnight. Lots of things to think about there, but it can be a good savings and is worth certainly giving a try. So washing clothes in cold water, most people do this already, and of course the detergents that are out there will do a good job for you. I did realize, and a tip, because we got a new washer not too long ago, that it's a good idea to put the pod right in the bottom of the washing machine before you put the clothes in. Didn't know that until only a couple of weeks ago. Helps dissolve the detergent and could prevent some staining on your clothes as well. So use cold water. If your clothes washer has the option for a second spin, it can be worth doing that because a lot of the energy used with washing and drying clothes is used up by the dryer as it dries the clothes. So the less water on the clothes when you take it out of the washing machine and put it in the dryer, the better. New energy efficient clothes washers try to spin it fast so that when it comes out, some things can feel like they're almost dry, and they just need that final little piece in the dryer. So keep that in mind. Also with the dryer, use the auto dry functions. Okay, so it's detecting how much humidity is left in the clothes, and it'll change the time required based on that humidity level. So any of those energy saving auto dry functions, you should be taking advantage of those. All right, so a few more things that you can do there. Unplugging electronics, a whole bunch of little things add up, okay? And it can add up to, we estimate about 3% of your bill. There are some big pieces when it comes to unplugging. And if you've got a second fridge somewhere in the house, in the basement, you've only got a few things in there, but you like to have it around, well, you need to realize that could be costing you a lot of money, all right? Especially if it's a 15-year-old fridge. It could be $20 a month to have it plugged in. Now, if you've got it full of food and you need it, well, that's fine. You're getting value and economy from it. But if you've only got a few items in there and you really could be using just one fridge, then it could very well be worth it. Keep in mind when you unplug a device, or your fridge, I should say, you'll need to keep the door open because there can be some water in there and it'll get stale in a hurry. So fridge, deep freeze, ask yourself the same questions. If it's full of moose or fish, fine, you're getting value out of it. But if you've only got a couple items, then you really should think about whether you need it and whether you can unplug it and live without it, because those items can cost you a lot to operate. Take a shorter shower if you want to save some of that hot water. The Canadian average is 8 minutes. 8 minutes for a shower. So if you can be below that, then you're doing better. One of my favorite tips, and this is not a no-cost thing, but is to get an energy-efficient shower head. There are some big savings. I mentioned I had 4 boys, very active boys growing up. I don't think we would have all been able to get our daily showers if we weren't using an energy-efficient shower head. So that can be really important and give you some great savings. And we do have some rebates that are happening right now that you can avail of to get that. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Look, coming right up. So takeCHARGE rebates to help you save. So these are some things that you can invest in to get energy savings around your home. And right now, and until November 7th, we've got instant rebates. So in this case, you get it right in the store, right when you go to the cash. You know, if an item is noted as having a takeCHARGE rebate, when you go up, you're going to get the discount right at the cash register. So that's fantastic. Some really nice, attractive rebates, up to $30 on certain items. Okay, so definitely worth checking into. Let's have a look at some of the lighting rebates that you can get. Of course, the LED light bulb. We've rebated over 2 million LED light bulbs in the province so far. So lots and lots of people are using them. Probably you are too. Maybe you've got a few more left around the house that you just need to get to. So until November 7th, you can take advantage of the instant rebates. And November 7th feels like it's a long ways away. Yeah, I'll get to that sometime. But you know what? The sooner you do it, the sooner you start saving. And November the 7th can sneak up on you. And you don't want to miss the opportunity to take advantage of, up to $5 on LED light bulbs. There's timers that are rebated, motion sensors, full, ceiling type fixtures that you can get up to $5 back on, and dimmer switches as well that are hardwired. So it's a great opportunity to take advantage of some really nice rebates on lighting products. As the weather gets colder, and we all know it's windy in Newfoundland, those cold drafts, they tend to leak in low down in your house, and then the warm air that you've paid to heat leaks out higher up in the house. Not too far from the bay, you see, dropping the H and picking it up somewhere else. So lots of great products here. Window insulation film kits. You may have seen ads over the years, you put the film over an old window that's leaky, and then you use the hair dryer to just make it nice and even and see-through. They can really do a good job for you. And then there's weather stripping products for windows, for doors. There's outlet packages that you can get, little insulators that go behind a plate of a electrical outlet or switch plate, and they'll do a good job for you as well. Now, another little thing with the electrical plugs is if you put safety plugs in there, it can just seal up that, the place where you're plugging in, and then you've got a really nice, tight little electrical outlet to keep those drafts out. And as I mentioned, if you go down in the basement, that's where the cold air tends to leak in. That's when you can really feel it, and start there to seal things up to keep those cold drafts out. So, more products. Air purifiers. If you're looking to get one of those, get an Energy Star air purifier, up to $30 or $30 rebate on those items. Dehumidifiers, there's a $20 rebate if you need one of those. And while I mentioned dehumidifiers, good to be aware that they can consume a lot of energy. So, you know, we like Energy Star rated dehumidifiers because they're going to use less energy. But if you've got one plugged in the basement during the summer, they can be using $20 or $30 a month. Okay, so that affects your bill. Be mindful about what you've put it on. So we're kind of used to the fact that you have a thermostat, you set it on 21 degrees, and you know that it's going to try to heat the room to 21 degrees. And sometimes when it comes to dehumidifiers, it gets a little bit trickier. Well, whatever you set the dehumidifier on, that's what it's going to try to hit. So if you set a dehumidifier at 30%, it's going to try to bring down the humidity level till it gets to 30%. And that's a really low level, by the way. You know, typically in a basement, 50% would probably be a good number. Judge yourself accordingly, though. In your own house, it can, you know, maybe need a little bit less, or it could be fine with more. But the lower you set that dehumidifier, the more energy it's going to consume to try to get down to that humidification level. Smart plugs. Maybe you've heard of them, but you can hook it up to your smartphone, and now you can automatically switch things on and off. You can put it on a timer, and most of these smart plugs will tell you how much energy something is using. So it's kind of nice. Gives you a little bit of insight into what the device could be using that you've got plugged in there. There's that high-performance shower head that I'm a big fan of. Until November 7th, you can get a $15 rebate, and that covers off a good portion of the cost. And it's going to give you a nice full shower with less hot water. Also faucet aerators that you could use in your sink or bathroom. And if you're wondering if you need one, if the water when it's coming out of the tap has a white look to it, then it's probably already got a faucet aerator on there. But if it looks like a stream of water coming out of a garden hose, then you need an aerator. So I've got a question here. Can we buy these online or at the stores only? Okay, on the instant rebates. Great question. You cannot buy them online. It's just in the stores. So if you come to visit us at our takeCHARGE NL website, there's a list of participating retailers, and there's also the same list that we've been looking at, but a list of all the products and the rebates that you're able to get on those. So please come visit us at takechargenl.ca and look for all the instant rebates and find those participating retailers. And it's in-store only. Thank you very much. That's a great question. So we're going to switch gears and talk about insulation and the fact that if you've got a fully insulated basement, it feels good. Your house is more comfortable, and you can feel good about the fact that you're going to save a lot of energy, all right? So if your basement is not fully insulated, if you don't have all those concrete walls from the foundation covered up and insulated, then you're wasting money. And there's really an opportunity to save money and to make your house more energy efficient, okay? So you can get back up to $1,000 for basement insulation and up to $1,000 on attic insulation upgrades. In the basement, our rebates cover 75% of the insulating material costs. All right, so those bags of insulation, or if you're using rigid board insulation or a combination, it covers up to 75% of those costs. All right, really good rebates, and up to $1,000. All right, in the attic, our rebate covers 50% of the insulating material costs. All right, 50% in the attic, up to $1,000. A lot of people get an insulation contractor to do the job, and that's fine. That's certainly your choice. Keep in mind, our rebate, 50% of the insulation materials. All right, so those rebates are really popular, and they're really intended to help you make sure your home is more energy efficient. And if you're wondering if you have enough insulation, you can get up there and measure it. Today's standard is for about 16 inches of insulation in the attic. All right, so keep that in mind. One of those insulation contractors will certainly be happy to help you out with that as well. And today's standard is an R50, about that 16 inches of insulation in the attic. Another little thing I'll say is that if your house was built before 2012, then you probably need a top-up because the standards have increased over the years. And starting around 2012, that's when the requirement for that R50, that 16 inches, came into play. We've got a couple of new rebates available. If you've got a forced air system in your house and some of the ductwork that moves that warm air is going through cold spaces, either in an unheated crawl space or maybe even in the attic, all right, you can get back up to $500 for ductwork upgrades, all right? So that's something to be mindful of. I know not everybody has a forced air system, but if you do, come to the website, check it out, see what's involved there, and if you don't have that ductwork insulated and it's going through cold spaces, you are wasting energy, and you'll be much happier and warmer and cozier and saving energy if you do that insulation job. All right? So, okay, I'm just giving another question. Are the insulation rebates still granted for do-it-yourself jobs? Excellent questions, and the answer is yes. Yep. So you certainly have the option. You can do it yourself, and you know it's easy to apply for the rebates as well. You can do it online. You can do it by mail. We will be asking you for a copy of your receipt. So again, if you did the project yourself and you're going out to the hardware store and buying the materials, just keep that list. And when you send in the application, you would need to attach it, and that's how we figure out, you know, how much of a rebate you're going to get. But certainly the choice is yours. You can do it yourself, or you can look for some help from a contractor to do those projects, or your brother-in-law, right? Because he's always good for it, right? He's probably over eating your food half the time anyway, so he probably owes you one. All right, here's another new rebate. It's for air sealing, and this is about trying to keep those cold drafts out. All right, so you can get up to $500 back on an air sealing project or improvements to your house. This one does have some strings attached. There would need to be an energy assessment done by somebody normally through the federal government's Greener Homes program. They'll come in, do what's called a blower door test. So they put a special door on the front of your house. They leave the old one there, but anyways, it creates a vacuum, measures how leaky your house is, and then you would go through and do that air sealing upgrade, and then they would come back and do another test. So this one we've got in place, but it really works in partnership with the federal government's Greener Homes program, which is a great program that if you want to do some upgrades, you should check out as well. But it's there, it's a new program, and hopefully it will help you make your home more energy efficient and more airtight. Excellent. Another new one that takeCHARGE has gotten involved with over the last couple of months, it's been in play for a few years, but now takeCHARGE is involved, is our oil to electric program. All right, so if you're heating your home with oil and you're going to move to an electric option, then there's some significant money available through the provincial government, and so we're happy to participate in that. You've got some heating options. You can get a central heat pump or mini split heat pumps. You can install an electric furnace or an electric boiler. All right, so if you want some more information, come visit us at takechargenl.ca/oil to electric. You see that just down to the left there on the screen. So there's some significant monies available through the provincial government, and we're administering the program at takeCHARGE and happy to help you make that move. So just to give you a sense of some of those available incentives, now there's two streams here. There's the income qualified stream, and I'm going to put some more information up in a minute on that, but there's some income qualified which have a little more money available. If you're putting in electric furnace or electric boiler, you can get up to $10,000. Putting in heat pumps, either the multiple mini split heat pumps or other variations, you can get up to $13,000. And then the most money you can get is for a central heat pump. So this would be have ductwork throughout your house, up to $17,000. if you don't qualify for that income qualified rebates, then we've got the other stream on the right-hand side there. So you see the numbers are less, but they're still significant as you make that move from oil to electric. And give you a bit of a sense of the income qualifications. And I'm not going to pretend to be a tax expert or anything, but this relates to your net income, and then they even subtract off the taxes that you've paid to determine these income levels. So, you know, if you're looking at doing this, it's definitely worth coming to the website, seeing all the information, and then digging out some of your old tax information. It's almost a dirty word, isn't it? Be talking about taxes. But anyways, to figure it out if you do qualify. But you know, there's a lot of grant money available, so it's definitely worth checking out if this is something that you're looking at. And come to our website at takeCHARGE and find out all about it. And we do offer rebates for oil heat customers as well. Same sorts of rebates that we have on insulation in the attic and in the basement, right? Up to that $2,000 for 2 projects, $1,000 in the basement, $1,000 in the attic. And so, you know, that's definitely worth checking out as well. Let's move along. Whoop, I think I've got another question here. We're going to talk about HRVs in a minute. For renters, so we'll pause. For renters, what is the most we can save on energy? Okay, we don't have the option to take advantage of some of those big items as we're not the homeowner. And that is a very valid point and a great point. If you're the renter, it's hard to make, or practically impossible, we'll say, to make those significant upgrades. So, you know, doing things like setting back the thermostat, making sure you're using energy efficient lighting, that energy efficient shower head as well, those sorts of things are you know, what you can do. You know, you might not have a fridge if it's a renter and it's a small place. You might only have 1 fridge and 1 deep freeze potentially. So, you know, the list of what you can do is definitely more limited. But, you know, come to the website. There is a section there that talks about renters and gives you even more ideas about what you can do. And for anybody, you know, we'd certainly encourage you to come visit us and just take some time and go down through and look for any tips that would apply to you. But it is a great point for sure. You know, the homeowners, the landlords or people that own the building, you know, they can make upgrades as well and apply for our rebates. So, you know, depending on your situation, you could encourage the homeowner or the owner of the property that you're renting to check that out as well, because they can be eligible for a lot of those rebates, especially in the basement if it's not fully done. All right. So here's another rebate that we've got on HRVs. It's $175 for qualifying units. So, you know, if you're putting in, if you've got to replace an existing unit, we certainly encourage you to move up to the more efficient units, one that's going to qualify for a $175 rebate. Over the life of an HRV, which typically is about 15 years, you could save $1,000 by getting that more efficient unit. And a heat recovery ventilator, as it is, you know, instead of just exhausting the warm air that you paid to heat up outside, it's going to recover some, and quite a bit actually, typically about 80% of the heat that you would have lost. It recovers that and puts it into the incoming fresh air stream. So, you know, it's really important, and these qualifying HRVs, they're super efficient. Okay, so if you've got to replace an existing one, look for this, and it does apply for new home construction as well. So, and oil heat customers can avail of this this rebate as well. So, yeah, very important. And you know, like any mechanical device, it's important to maintain it. Make sure filters are cleaned on a regular basis because it is moving air. Energy savers kits. So We talked about a whole list of instant rebates that are available to everybody. This is another income qualified program. Come to the website and see how you can qualify, see what those income levels are. They're different than the ones we looked at earlier for the oil to electric. But it includes all the same sorts of things: light bulbs, weather stripping, window insulation kit. It can save you, we estimate, about up to $100 a year, okay? And it would be free if you qualify. So come to the website, see if you qualify for the Energy Savers Kit. We'll mail it out to you, comes right to your door. It's nice and convenient that way. You do have to install them to get the savings, but yeah, definitely worth doing. Come check out at our website, takeCHARGENL.ca, to see if you would qualify for a free Energy Savers Kit. And if you don't, we still got the instant rebates. Going to cost you a little bit, but the savings really do add up. Heat pumps and mini splits, or ductless heat pumps as they're referred to, same name, mini split, ductless, for the same device, have gotten very, very popular in the last half dozen years for sure. And a lot of people wonder, you know, is it worth the investment? Should I move ahead with it? And there's some things to keep in mind. You need to make sure your house is energy efficient. And if your basement's not insulated, not fully insulated, you really need to do that first. Make your home energy efficient. And then you need to look at your home and the layout. You know, if it's an open concept, then it's going to be a better fit for a ductless or mini split heat pump. If it's split up into a lot of smaller rooms, then the system is not going to deliver as much savings. Okay? So it's all about how big of an area can this heat pump handle. And so the bigger the area, the bigger the potential benefit. You will get a little bit of spillover into other areas, but I guess one way of looking at it is if you can see the heat pump from a place in your home, well, it's going to heat that place. But once you get into other rooms, you can't see the heat pump, there might be some benefit, but not as much. We do have a nice calculator on our website that can give you an idea about how much you're going to save. It will ask about how old is your home and how big is the area that the heat pump is going to heat, and so and what is the cost of this heat pump system, to give you an idea about what the payback would be to put in one. So yep, something to keep in mind and check out. And I've got a two-part question. I do love questions, I got to say, because that way I'm sure we're reaching you. And again, maybe not, you know, giving you all the information right away, but a chance to get it to you in the end. Can you give some tips on using a mini split and baseboard heating? What should temps be? Should I leave the mini split on at the same temp and leave it on 24 hours? Super good question. All right, because we do promote setting back the thermostats overnight. And you know what we're really talking about is baseboard systems or any oil system, or I should say central system. It would work the same. With heat pumps, it's a little bit different though. I mean, heat pumps are quite efficient, at least twice as efficient as electric baseboard, for example. So you want that system to give you as much heat as you can get from it, maybe within reason. You know, you can only turn up the thermostat so much, but you want to make sure that, you know, if you're comfortable at 21, to get a bit of spillover, you might want to turn it up to 22 and maybe even 23. I got to be honest with you, I've got one in my basement and I have it up quite a bit so that warm air can come up the stairs and heat more of the house. So by turning up the thermostat, maybe an extra degree or a couple of degrees on the heat pump, you're helping the heat to move through the space. Generally, leaving it set at one temperature is probably best with a heat pump. You know, especially a central heat pump. And I know we're probably talking about mini splits more so for most people, but for central heat pumps, it can be an issue to turn it down. So central, definitely don't change it. With that mini split, probably one of the only reasons to set it back is if it gets too warm at night and you're trying to sleep, you know. That can be one reason why you'd want to set it back a couple of degrees, but more about comfort and being too warm at night. rather than energy savings. And they are really nice systems. Almost all of them are what they call variable speed. So, once it hits the set point of whatever you got to set on, then it just slows down and it moderates the output to match the room. So they are really nice systems, can give you really good comfort. In terms of what to set it on, there's so much variation. Set it to a point where you're comfortable is maybe my best advice. With some systems, that might be 19 degrees. With other systems, it might be 22. And so, again, set it so that the space and the area is comfortable. You could set it up an extra degree or two to get more heat moving through the house and avoid having to use baseboards. The other thing I'll say about baseboards is you want to make sure the thermostats for those are set back a little bit, okay? So that they're not coming on when they don't need to, that you're getting as much heat out of the heat pump as you can. Baseboards are important because, if it gets super cold outside, you might need a little extra heat, and that's the time when you can turn up that thermostat a little bit so that you're not cold in your house. But you really want to get as much heat out of the heat pump as you can. So there's a second part to this question. If the baseboard only is used in a play area twice a week, should we heat it all the time? Okay, so I'm thinking this is, basement. If the basement only is used as a play area twice a week, should we heat it all the time? And I'm going to say no. You want to be, if you have baseboard in particular, if you have a heat pump and you're trying to heat the rest of the house, that would be one thing. But just for baseboards in a basement, in an unused area or an area that's unused most of the time, you can really set back the heat there and get some savings. So if normally you've got it on 20 or 21 degrees in the areas that you're using, and you've got either a basement that only gets a couple uses a week, then yeah, set it back. Houses can be different, but maybe 15, 16 degrees, and then if you turn up the heat when you go down there to use it, in 15 minutes it'll probably be back up to the temperature that you want, unless it's a super cold day. It'll take a bit longer. So yeah, setting back the heat in unused areas, maybe in a spare bedroom, for example, as well. If you close the door and set back the heat to 15 or 16 degrees. I do like to advise, though, that you need to be mindful. You don't want to create a problem for yourself. So, as the temperatures go down in a space, it's more likely that you might get some humidity or mold issues. So give it the old sniff test. If it's a spare room that you hardly ever use, and you get the door closed and you get the temperature set on 15 or 16 degrees, every few days maybe go in there and give it a little sniff. If mold starts to develop, you'll probably smell it. And that's the risk, is that if you set back the temperature too much, and now you get mold that might develop. So be mindful of that. And again, you might only want to start with a few degrees to test it out and see how that works for you. Okay? A little bit of trial and error, perhaps. Hopefully not error, but just trying things to make sure they're going to work for you. All right, those super popular heat pumps. And what is it? A heat pump is a refrigeration system. So just the same as your fridge or your deep freeze, it moves heat from one place to another, and it's able to be super efficient doing it. So they'll work these days down to -20, probably even colder. All right, that outdoor unit is able to absorb heat, just the same as your deep freeze, absorb heat and move it into the house. So we're kind of, I keep talking about the deep freeze or a fridge because it's the same technology, moving heat from one place to another, and we're used to that deep freeze and freezing something solid to a rock. So this technology really does work, and it's gotten better in the last number of years for cold climates like Canada and Newfoundland, like our climates. So they can work very, very well. Limitations as it gets very, very cold out. It won't move as much heat, but it's still able to move heat. And at those super cold times, that's when you might need to need a little bit of backup as well, just to make sure you're maintaining your comfort level at 20 or 21 degrees. So one of the big benefits to a heat pump is saving energy and money, and it can save up to 40% in the area where the heat pump is heating, okay? So if you just had one heat pump in one area, it'll save there, but you're not going to get 40% savings of all your heating costs in your house. So 40% of the area where the heat pump is heating is a reasonable estimate of what you could expect to save. It also gives you improved comfort. So a lot of people like systems that move a bit of air around. There's a filter in there, so you got to clean the filter, right? Every month or 2 months, very easy to do. Pull it out and get the dust off it so that it can continue to move air freely and operate efficiently. The other thing that a heat pump does is give you air conditioning. Okay, so for those weeks in the summertime when it gets hot and we've got the sun pouring in through the window and making our house too warm, it'll give you air conditioning as well, which can be a great benefit and give you comfort all year long. All right, so they're nice like that. I'm going to criticize our picture a little bit here now because we show the outdoor heat pump right on the ground or in the picture. But if you've got one installed or you see them, they'll be up off the ground on a stand. All right, but we don't need to stand in our picture. We can just tell you about it. So it needs to be a couple feet off the ground so that snow is not going to pack in around it too easily. But if you see any, and there's probably some in your neighborhood, or you may have one, you know that it's up off the ground, so it keeps it away from that snow, and a snowfall is not going to pack around it. Something to be mindful of, though, from a maintenance perspective, to make sure that even if you get drifting, you clear the snow away. So is a heat pump right for you? So we mentioned the fact that your house needs to be energy efficient. Insulation levels need to be, at a good place, especially that basement if it's not fully insulated. The house layout is going to make a difference. The more wide open the concept is, the more a heat pump in that area can give you benefits of energy savings and heat that area. And there's some maintenance involved, keeping that outdoor unit cleared, keeping the filters cleaned on a regular basis because it does move air through. And then thinking about, does it make sense for me? How much is it going to cost for the system? How much can I reasonably expect to save? We do have that calculator on the website that you can use. So yeah, something to think about, and lots of people are doing it. I've got another question I'd like to share. Would a heat pump be beneficial in a crawl space that is encapsulated, I guess all closed off? Would that heat transfer up through the floor in a single floor bungalow? Wow, that is a great question. But it's a bit tricky. It might work very well. It might, because you're going to create a warm space. If you put it in a crawl space, you would want to have it insulated, no doubt about it. It has to be fully insulated to keep the heat in. And then if you've got, like a hardwood floor, it will create a bit of a warm space. You probably have to turn it up a bit more. It's certainly not something that you see very much, but it could work. Got to clean those filters, though. You can't just run it and forget about it, right? So it has some potential there if it's heating the space above, but the vast majority of systems, of course, right in the area where you need it. So you'd be doing a bit of an experiment if you tried that. So yeah, good question. No such thing as a bad question. So thank you very much for that. And EVs, electric vehicles. If you watch TV these days, if you watch sports and you see car ads, vehicle ads, no doubt you're seeing, it seems like all the manufacturers now are promoting electric vehicles. That's what they're putting front and center. There's probably 800 plus fully electric vehicles on the road in Newfoundland, and there's lots more what they call plug-in hybrids. So there's actually a gas engine plus electric that will get you typically 50 kilometers or so, and there are several thousand of those. So lots of electric vehicles in the province, more coming. We have a network of fast chargers across the province now, all along the Trans-Canada Highway, and then Bonavista and Port Rex and Marystown, on and on. So that will continue to grow as time moves along, because more and more electric vehicles will be coming to the province. The big benefit of electric vehicles is that they don't use don't use gas, I should say. They use electricity instead. That's a fully electric vehicle, and the fuel savings are quite significant, 80% or so, depending on the price of gas. You know, our website might say 70%. We're a bit conservative there, but you know, with today's prices, it's 80%, and you know, it will cost you more to buy an electric vehicle, no doubt about that. Right now, the federal government offers a $5,000 grant on qualifying electric vehicles. The provincial government is putting in $2,500 on electric vehicles. So there are some pretty significant grants available to buy down the cost of an electric vehicle for you. And more people are thinking about it as we see more electric vehicles on the road today. So they're coming, they're here. It's some really good benefits. They work great in the winter. You know, people will say, how are they going to work? I mean, Norway, which is a very cold country, has more, I think they're probably about 80% of new car sales are electric vehicles. So again, they work in the winter, no trouble working here. So they can work for everybody. So something to think about. They probably won't be for everybody, but they could be, and eventually they will be. So we've got some questions throughout the piece. I do appreciate that. Appreciate all the questions. If you've got more and you want to ask them, we've got a Contact Us website through takeCHARGE. It's right there on the screen. You can send that in, and we will answer your questions for you. Another question that just came in, is there such a thing as a mini-split heat pump air exchanger? And it's a good question. The short answer is no. And I guess as a point of reference, an air exchanger is taking air from the outside, moving it inside, hopefully as a heat recovery ventilator, so that it's recovering that heat. But a mini-split heat pump is just moving air, so it's drawing air from the room, heating it up, and putting it back into the room. There's no exchange with the outside. Now, if you Google it, you might find somewhere there's a system that someone's got available, but none of them are being installed in Newfoundland, and it might be a thing in the future because it's certainly not a bad idea to try to get more efficiency and more savings. Another question. My daughter will be installing her second heat pump. Is it just the AC unit that has to be installed again? Sounds like she maybe, or the whole outside system. Okay, so they've had to replace the heat pump unit, and the question is, there's an indoor unit and an outdoor unit. Do both of them have to be changed out? There's a very good chance they do, because the two units have to match and be able to work together. And I don't know how old the system is, but if it's 10 plus years old, they normally last 12 to 15 years. That's the rated life. But there's a very strong chance that both units will have to be replaced, because again, they need to match and work together. And so very likely they do. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much for the questions, and hopefully this session has been useful to you. You got some tips. Our website is fantastic, takeCHARGE.nl.ca. Lots of advice, lots of information on the rebates and some of the finer details that you can dig into. So thanks for taking time out of your day to join us, and hopefully it's been useful.